Hello, welcome to the podcast. Today we want to talk about a disappearance case that happened fairly recently. Some of our audience members might be aware of it. This case is, I guess you could call breaking as we speak. There's new information coming out. We want to talk about the Nancy Ng disappearance that happened on October 19th of this year. So literally just a couple of months ago, you could say. I'm joined with my co-host, Rain. How are you doing today?
Hello, everyone, and as always, I'm feeling pretty okay. How are you?
I'm feeling good. It's a nice evening here in Lithuania. We have another studio setup once more. We just keep switching it up, but it seems like we found even a better spot to record these podcasts. Hopefully, they will be even of better quality. I generally feel ready to kind of go over some information that is coming out regarding Nancy's case. So you found Nancy's case. You brought it to my attention. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what you know about the case and how did you come about this one?
Oh, I found it in a very casual manner. I was just scrolling through Instagram like regular people, and I just found it. It seems like it's pretty viral in the internet, and it seems spooky and really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's more viral on TikTok right now. There's some TikTok creators that are really updating people on TikTok. So we have a 29-year-old school assistant from Southern California, Nancy Ng. She went on a trip to Guatemala with her yoga group, and she disappeared. A couple of months ago, she signed up for an October yoga retreat. Well, this is prior to October, so maybe sometime in late summer. Nancy arrived at the retreat on 14th of the October, alongside with, as I understand, 9 other members of that yoga class. Well, probably 8 members and the yoga instructor, Eduardo. On October 19th, Nancy and 9 other people, including the yoga instructor, they went on a trip to the Lake Atitlán. Lake Atitlán is this pretty massive lake in Guatemala. Shortly after, Nancy disappeared in the water. So I think the general kind of way people were structuring this disappearance is that 10 people went to the lake, Atitlán, but only 9 came back. And then apparently all of them immediately left the country the next day. That's why it was so shady, because the whole yoga retreat was supposed to last another couple of days, but it seems like everyone who was there decided to leave really urgently. And that naturally caused a lot of suspicion. Doesn't it sound quite suspicious to you? 10 people go to a lake activity, to go kayaking on a lake. 9 people return and they don't speak to authorities or don't provide any comment about what had happened on the lake, and they leave the country abruptly.
I mean, it's definitely suspicious. The matter they rushed back to California, just screams red flag.
The 9 people refused to talk to the kayak company that had rented out the kayaks to them about what happened, and apparently they left within 8 hours of Nancy's disappearance. They didn't even pay the tab for the kayaks that they had rented during that trip on which Nancy went missing. According to Nancy's family, the 9 persons refused to cooperate with the Guatemalan authorities, which is disputed at this point, because we had heard from one of the witnesses, actually the person who was with Nancy last, and that witness reported that she indeed did talk to Guatemalan police and had provided a full statement. we will talk about the specific witness in a little bit. The yoga retreat was supposed to last a couple more days. However, all of them left as if in a hurry. This naturally caused Nancy's family to suspect that there could be something shady happening.
I mean, come on, 8 hours. They didn't even wait it a day. They didn't do anything. Sorry.
No, that's finish your thought, please.
Yeah, it's just pretty weird that how they did not report it to the Guatemalan police, which would have probably done.
Allegedly didn't talk to the Guatemalan police. Let's make sure that we use the allegedly, because as I understand, the one witness came out and she told everyone that she cooperated with the police. So it's a bit shady, and I really don't know if she
within
had...
the 8 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it happened in the airport or something. Who knows?
Yeah, but do you think if I go to the police right now and I report a missing person and I leave immediately, I come back to my country, do you think it would even be possible to do that? Do you think I would be free to go?
I mean, I really don't know the legalities of these things, so I can't say for certain. But nonetheless, the retreat was supposed to last another couple of days. So just the fact that everyone left in such a hurry kind of immediately raises a lot of suspicions here, in my opinion. Don't you think?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, why would they rush to leave if they had nothing to hide? If this was just an accident where Nancy Ng drowned in the Lake Atitlán, why did they rush to leave the country? Could it be potentially due to the fact that maybe the group of people were possibly consuming marijuana on this trip? I mean, this is a yoga retreat. These people are really relaxed, and Guatemala, on the other hand, has, according to Wikipedia, if you consumed marijuana, you could get from 4-month to 5-year sentence in a Guatemalan prison just for consuming weed. So naturally, you have to think maybe if the group of people were potentially scared of drug tests coming their way, they would naturally want to leave as soon as possible before those tests could even be commenced.
Yeah, I have a question. It's just out of curiosity and not throwing accusations out there. Do you think they even tried to find her within that 8-hour range?
You mean the group of people?
Yeah, the yoga class. When Nancy disappeared all of a sudden, do you think they spent like maybe a couple of hours trying to find her themselves?
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward that Nancy drowned at this point after looking at the information. So I don't really know what they would try to find, actually, because there were...
swim after, or like go around the area?
But the authorities were informed fairly on, so I don't know if they themselves could really try to find Nancy. And I don't think they did anything like that. I think they just packed up and left. Because I think from the information that I will tell you right now, it's fairly easy to understand that Nancy drowned in Lake Atitlán. I guess the question is whether or not Nancy was a victim, or was this an accident? Is there any foul play involved? I guess that's what we're trying to figure out, whether or not Nancy's case has any hint of foul play. So how about I just jump right into the account of the kayak rental place called Guatemala Kayak that rented out the kayaks to this group of 10. What is their account? What is their statement regarding Nancy's disappearance? What had they seen? So shall I just jump into it?
Go for it.
All right. So I'm gonna tell you about the account from the owners of Guatemala Kayak. The owners reported that the group of 10 people arrived at the kayak center, which is kind of adjacent to the Lake Atitlán. If we would like to describe the lake to our audience members, it's this pretty massive lake in southern Guatemala, and Guatemala in general is a country right below Mexico. So it's one of Guatemala, just for, I don't know, just for a reference, is one of the biggest countries in Central America. It has 18 million people living in Guatemala, and this lake is actually just a huge volcanic lake situated in the southern part of Guatemala. It's kind of a round shape, and all around this massive lake there are little settlements. Yeah, anything you want to add to kind of paint the better picture for our audience members?
From the aerial view, it kind of looks a bit like Asia, the continent ish.
Yeah, I get what I see what you mean. On top of that, well, I guess I will jump into the more like specific details about this lake. Will be described in the account from the lake, from the Guatemala kayak owners. Yep.
I was expecting something smaller, I'm not gonna lie. When you said lake, I honestly thought it was just like a small lake, and when you showed me this picture, I didn't know it was this massive.
Yeah, no, it's a massive lake.
Yeah, you could get lost in here.
It's a massive lake. I think it's like spans like miles across, like over 10 miles in each direction. So it's a pretty big lake that has a bunch of settlements around it. So going back really quickly to the account that was provided from the kayak center, the group of 10 people arrived at the kayak center at around 10:30 a.m. on October 19th. So this is 5 days into the retreat already.
How many days was the retreat again?
I think the retreat,
week?
I think something like a week. I'm not sure exactly, but I think maybe when, they left on the 20th, I believe, or the 21st. But I think the retreat was supposed to last until like the 23rd of October. Something like that. But jumping back to October 19th. So at 10:30, they arrive at the kayak center, and at around 10:40 a.m., so 10 minutes later, they start paddling with their kayaks. The group returned to the kayak center at around 12 in the noon, so around an hour later. However, 8 people returned originally. Nancy and another woman named Christina Blazek continued paddling to the east from where the kayak center was located. And the kayak center is literally adjacent to the shore of this lake. And they have a speedboat there, and it generally looks like, the owners of the kayak center, they're kind of looking over the kayakers. They're probably making sure that everyone's okay. But for some reason, after the group of 8 people returned, the 2 people, Nancy and Christina Blazek, another woman who was on the retreat, they continued paddling to the east. They eventually paddled out of the field of view of the kayak center owners. Now, around 30 to 45 minutes later, Christina Blazek got the attention of some workers on the lake shore around a house called Paxanax. So this is a little bit to the east from the kayak center.
Yeah, that sounds like they paddled pretty far.
Yeah, it sounds like definitely they paddled out of field of view. So definitely they paddled, for some reason, they paddled quite far away from where they started, which to me is immediately strange, because from the video that we will review a little bit later, it kind of looks like the whole situation was set up that they wouldn't intend to paddle far away from the kayak center.
Yeah, they didn't have their life vests on.
Exactly. So we'll jump into all of this in a little bit. So Christina Blazek, around 30 to 45 minutes later, got the attention of some workers that had been working on lake shore a little bit away from this kayak center. Christina Blazek was in distress and was calling for help. She told the workers that her fellow, trip goer, whatever you would like to call Nancy, had gone for a swim in Lake Atitlán. She had left her kayak for a swim and then disappeared. I don't know how you can disappear in a lake. You definitely drown, so that's for certain. According to the owners of the kayak center, it was a simple case of Nancy Ng drowning. That's what they believe. It's apparently not common for bodies to be recovered after drowning at Lake Atitlán. So if you drown in this lake, then there are huge chances that your body will never be recovered. This lake in particular is over 1,000 feet deep and the water is cold. The lake has underwater currents that can move a body around continuously underwater. So if you drown in one area, then most likely your body is moved around underwater.
Around the lake.
So it's really impossible to almost tell where the body ends up being. People drown in this lake quite frequently, according to the owners, and most of the bodies are never recovered. Within 5 minutes, 2 boats were dispatched and started looking for Nancy. Within a very short period of time, additional boats were dispatched to the search area and the Guatemalan Navy arrived by 2 p.m. Before the group started to paddle, the leader of the group, Eduardo, indicated that he would pay for the group upon their return. Life jackets are always offered before the activity starts, and the owners highly recommend their usage. However, everyone in the group declined the use of life jackets because it is not required by Guatemalan law to use them. The owners of the Guatemala kayak rental want to focus on the leader of the group. They cast suspicion to the leader of the group, Eduardo. According to the owners, the group led by Eduardo left the scene without the permission of the authorities and they did not cooperate with them as well. The owners witnessed Christina Blazek being ushered up the steps with Eduardo. She was clearly distressed and they didn't say a word to the owners. The owners called the hotel the next day on the 20th because the excursion was not paid for by Eduardo as he had promised before they ventured out into the water with the kayaks. But the hotel told the owners that the group had already left the hotel. This is the one detail that the owners of the kayak rental place don't understand. They don't understand why the group left within 8 hours of the accident. The owners are confused why the remaining 8 people from the group do not speak on this case. They also failed to pay for the kayak services. The owners recovered the kayak that was missing fairly quickly during the initial search and rescue. So at this point, I think it's worth mentioning that I think the leader of the group, Eduardo, I believe it was mentioned that he was the one who contacted Nancy's family back in the States and just provided the information that their daughter is missing. Didn't really tell anything else.
How long? I mean, how long was the time passed before he contacted the family?
I don't really know for a fact, but I mean, it's hard to say because it's hard to find facts on this case online. So I would say he probably contacted within 24 hours. That's like what I understood. One way or another, he contacted the family within 24 hours. And naturally, the family was very confused. What do you mean our daughter is just missing in Lake Atitlán? What does that actually mean? Okay, we just took a little break. This so far has been very detail heavy, and I feel like I was on a marathon just trying to describe the case to the audience, so I had to rest my voice for a little bit. I guess generally to summarize the story so far, the family members were naturally very, let's say, disappointed that nobody from the retreat, none of the 9 other people were speaking out or providing their comments about what happened to Nancy. All they had provided to the family is that Nancy had apparently drowned, and that's obviously not everything that they know potentially, and also their shady reaction to her disappearance, drowning essentially, caused a stir online as well, because why would innocent people apparently flee the country right after their supposed friend had drowned? So very natural reaction, I would say, from the family members who care about their daughter very much. It took Christina Blazek, the last woman who was with Nancy, 4 weeks to provide an official comment. Now, Christina Blazek is a 40-year-old public defender from California, so she naturally knows the ins and outs of the legal system. So she most likely made the conclusion for one way or another to get a lawyer for herself and try to defend her position. It's still a bit of a mystery why it took her 4 weeks to provide a comment. However, I have this information. After almost 4 weeks of waiting for witnesses to speak out about what happened to Miss Ng, her family finally heard from the last person who saw her, Christina Blazek, who is a San Bernardino County public defender. She was named as the last person to see Miss Ng before she went missing in Lake Atitlán. Ms. Blazek and other witnesses have been barraged by followers of the case, as well as Miss Ng's family members, who are trying to understand why it has taken them so long to cooperate with law enforcement. Yet Christopher Gardner, Miss Blazek's attorney, has denied that his client has been uncooperative and said she spoke to Guatemalan police after Miss Ng went missing. So
After who, what now?
sorry, was that hard to understand?
No, after Nancy went missing.
Yeah, Nancy Ng. So Miss Ng, I'm referring to, Nancy Ng, sorry. So Christopher Gardner, the lawyer of Christina Blazek, the last person who saw Nancy Ng, claimed that Nancy Ng and his client, Christina Blazek, did not go anywhere together. Instead, they bumped into each other on the lake and got chatting with each other, which is immediately weird to me because according to the owners of Guatemala Kayak, the group came together and started kayaking at 10:40 a.m. So I don't really understand what the attorney means by Christina Blazek and Nancy Ng just bumped to each other on the lake. It's clearly not what's happening from the video that we have of basically the group launching their kayaks shortly before Nancy Ng disappears. That's clearly not what's happening. They don't just bump into each other. Don't you agree?
Yeah, for me, first impression, I thought it was part of the program, the yoga retreat program, wherein they're all gonna kayak as part of this program, like group kayak together from, let's say, 10 to 12, and then they're gonna head back in for some lunch or something.
Yeah, I definitely believe that was the situation, that it was just part of the program. So, according to the attorney, while they were out on the lake, Miss Blazek said through her attorney that Nancy Ng declared that she wanted to go and swim in Lake Atitlán. This is already happening when Nancy and Christina Blazek had already kind of made this really impromptu excursion of their own out of the field of view from the kayak center. Ms. Blazek allegedly tried to stop Nancy from swimming because it was rough out there and there was a good current. That's what allegedly she told Nancy. She told Nancy, please don't jump into the water because it's dangerous. That's what Christina Blazek is telling us right now. But according to the final witness, Nancy Ng ignored Blazek's alleged pleas and went into the water regardless, and by doing so managed to push her kayak away from herself. Mr. Gardner, the lawyer of Christina Blazek, then claimed that His client, Christina Blazek, tried to retrieve Nancy's kayak by keeping one leg in her own kayak and another leg in Nancy's kayak, and got close to Nancy to push it back to her, and then apparently she lost the kayak again, and she turned around to go back to get the kayak again. So I assume that she did manage to push it towards Nancy, but then Nancy for some reason maybe tried to get back on the kayak and then accidentally pushed it away from herself again. That's what Christina Blazek is stating. And then after that, Christina Blazek turned around from Nancy. That's what I understand. Turns around from Nancy, goes back to retrieve the kayak, and as she starts turning back towards Nancy, Nancy is nowhere to be seen. So most likely drowning.
Yeah.
That's like the only logical outcome.
Yeah, I don't know. I always thought Nancy was on her kayak and then decided to go for a swim. Decided to go for a dip. And then she went deeper. Maybe she swam deeper and never resurfaced again. That's what I initially thought.
Yeah, well, according to the comments provided by Christina Blazek, that's not exactly how it went down. So after this, Mr. Gardner says that his client, Christina Blazek, went to get help, and a distress call was sent out. It was previously rumored that Christina Blazek and the other witnesses fled the country almost immediately after the incident, but her attorney told ABC News that she spoke to local authorities, even trying to get them a place to look at, but because she was not familiar with the area, the directions were not concrete. After giving a full statement to the police, apparently the Guatemalan police, told Christina Blazek that there was nothing they could do about it because apparently the lake is known for having people drown in it. The Nancy Ng family said they attempted to reach Miss Blazek a number of times. However, her attorney claimed that Christina Blazek was traumatized by the whole ordeal and she needed time before she could speak out on this case once more. Apparently, Nancy Ng's family members tried reaching her a couple of times via email, but Christina Blazek didn't respond for 4 weeks, which I don't really know why. If you're completely innocent in this case, I don't really see the reason why you would not respond for 4 weeks unless you're an ultra paranoid, you're a super paranoid individual with the know-how of the legal system, and maybe you have seen such situations turn badly against the potential witness, that you are so paranoid that you're making sure every step is taken to cover your tracks. I mean, either you're guilty of something and you're trying to hide something, or you're extremely paranoid and you're trying to defend yourself. Maybe that's even a rational move to take. I don't really know because I'm not a legal expert.
Yeah, I kind of understand her actually. I feel like the way she responded was rational in some sort of way. Maybe she was actually really traumatized by it. Like, death is different when you see it with your own eyes. And maybe she needed time and space to get a move on from that. But at the same time, there was a family. There was a family that was waiting for Nancy to come back home. Family who were very curious about like what's happening to their daughter. Parents who were curious. And I think, yeah, I mean, cooperation should have been given a bit sooner,
yeah. Right? And also maybe they should have shed some more light why they left abruptly. Why did they leave without waiting? You know, I think they had flight tickets for a few days later, but I think all purchased a flight way earlier and went back home.
Yeah, that's super strange.
All right, so we have some additional details in this case. Since Miss Nancy Ng's disappearance, an eerie video has been released capturing the moments Miss Nancy Ng paddled away in her kayak moments before she went missing. And we have the video here, so I'm pretty sure we're going to be including this on our YouTube channel. We already agreed upon that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna play the video. So we are right now looking at Nancy Ng is the woman on the bottom left corner of this angle right here, and you could see she is paddling away in her kayak, and this is basically really close to the shore. Now you see another man kind of paddled past them. I feel like this is Eduardo, the leader of the camp, and to me immediately what jumps out is that Eduardo seems a lot more comfortable in a kayak than Nancy. And what jumps out to me is that Nancy doesn't necessarily look to me like she is super adept at kayaking, which is relevant in my opinion, because maybe this kind of brings a question: why would Nancy, someone who's potentially not super adept at kayaking, would decide to take this impromptu kayak excursion with Christina Blazek out of the field of view? And where were they going to begin with? Because we looked at the map, and we have a map of the route. Remember? We have the map of the route that Christina Blazek took, and Christina Blazek and Nancy Ng took. And you can see that the group of 10, initially they moved a little bit away from the shoreline to, just kind of still in the field of view. But then for some reason, Nancy Ng and Christina Blazek make this, in my opinion, bizarre kind of move east, in the east direction, like I feel like even miles in the east direction, where Nancy Ng drowns, and then Christina Blazek arrives to the shore, but at this time way far away from Kayak Guatemala center. Mm-hmm. And she asks for help because she reports that Nancy Ng had disappeared. So that's my first question. Look at the video, please, and tell me, what do you see here? Describe this to our listeners.
Oh, well, I could see a group of people. Nancy was a little far away from them, and she looked like she's not very well versed in kayaking. By the looks of it, it looks like it's her first time.
She had been on the same yoga retreat the last year, but I don't know if she did kayaks last year.
Because, I don't know, from this video, she kind of looks like she was struggling a little bit with the paddling and with the balancing.
Yeah, I see the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I see the same thing, and honestly, most of these people look like they're kind of starting out.
Yeah, like just feeling out the water, feeling out the kayaks. But the lake was beautiful. I kind of understand how they just strayed. Mainly because if you look at the lake, it's wide and you could see the mountain ranges. And it expands in horizon upon horizons. And I can see how like two adventurous people would want to see more of it. You know what I mean? Like they would like to spend more time in nature, in peace and quiet, and just, I don't know, hear the sound of the waves a little bit.
Yeah, my first, obviously I have to go here to the more conspiratorial line of thinking here, is that potentially Christina Blazek and Nancy Ng, do you think there's a chance either of them had weed or marijuana on them and they wanted to smoke weed on the lake, and they moved out of the field of view from everyone where they could smoke weed, which is very illegal in Guatemala and will give you a prison sentence. Do you think there's a chance that, I don't know, they went a little bit to the side to consume marijuana?
Okay, this is gonna be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like the whole group had marijuana in them.
At this moment,
Mm-hmm.
during the video that we're looking at, you see them potentially high.
Yeah. Come on, it's a yoga retreat. You gotta relax.
And they're all from California, I want to add, which is, weed there is legal as far as I know. So, okay, so fair enough. Fair enough. I wouldn't go as far as saying that they are definitely all high on weed here, but I would say that there's definitely at least room for speculation in this
Yeah, we're
direction.
we're just speculating, not like throwing accusations out there.
Exactly. So another piece of information I can provide is that local authorities believe that Nancy Ng had drowned, but her family believes that there was something more to this story, as it allegedly took the group around 24 hours to report her missing. The key element that is not adding up for the family is the lack of communication between witnesses and those who could help find their beloved family member. If it was a drowning and it was accidental, why has it taken so long for people that were close with Nancy during the time she went missing to speak up about it? Chris Sharp, the leader of the search and rescue team hired by Ng's family, a helicopter search and rescue, said he was having trouble getting witnesses to come forward to speak to him because he needs their information in order for him to better locate like the area of the lake where they should focus in trying to find Nancy. So he told that for him, it's now becoming a criminal investigation because the witnesses who were there at the material time are not being forthcoming. But Christina Blazek's lawyer claims that Christina gave a full statement to the Guatemalan police. However, the police report that Nancy's family received, allegedly, they claim that there is no mention of Christina Blazek's statement. So Christina Blazek claims that she provided a full statement to local authorities, but then in the case file, there is no statement, according to the family members. So do you think that there was a statement given and the authorities just somehow didn't add it to the report for some reason? Or do you think that Christina Blazek is outright lying about providing comment to Guatemalan police and she's a liar in that sense?
I actually really don't know about this one because it could go both ways. Christina could have been lying, but also the police could have been, I don't know, like a little bit incompetent with it, at least with the details.
It's not the first time that a country in Central America would mishandle an investigation. We had a very similar, as you mentioned earlier, we had a very similar situation potentially happening with Chris Kremers and Lisanne Froon case, where there's speculation that the local authorities in Panama had botched the case.
Yeah, but at the same time, this was a lake where a lot of people drowned. And so this was not the first case that the local police handled.
Very fair point.
Right? So I am not quite sure how to answer this. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to tell. I think we have to wait and see if more information is going to come out. Now, speaking about more information, we have a TikTok content creator this is his TikTok handle, and I think I want your help to tell me how should we pronounce this handle. Echhaske?
Echhaske?
Yeah, on TikTok, this man has been providing updates on the case fairly regularly, and he has some sort of I guess connection to the case in terms of like he's able to contact people from like the search and rescue and maybe even the family members, and he has been providing updates. So I looked at the latest updates, and we're recording on December 9th. So this is of December 9th. the latest updates are a few. So the first one that was reported on this guy's TikTok account was that there was potential evidence found by rescue team, and they had been able to retrieve a paddle that was missing from Nancy's kayak.
Okay, I have a question. Was this a full kayak, or did Christina brought back like half of the piece of the kayak, or was the whole thing missing for a bit?
I feel like Christina just kayaked herself to the shore. So I think at that point, both the kayak was still in the water and the paddle from Nancy's kayak.
And this was the only thing that floated, like a 1/4 piece of it.
No, they were able to find the kayak,
The whole thing.
the whole thing pretty quickly.
No, I meant the paddle.
The paddle was missing initially, but they were able to locate the paddle as it already had drifted to shore. And yeah, so that's the latest update, I guess, regarding one of the evidences found. And I don't know what this implies, because Kaske on TikTok, he is, he's leaning towards the foul play theory, that there's potential foul play there. And I don't know what this could potentially imply. Could this imply that maybe there was an argument on the, like, this doesn't necessarily imply anything, but if we would think about like a shady situation here, would this mean that maybe, I don't know, Christina Blazek hit Nancy in the head with the paddle and knocked her unconscious? Maybe there was a fight happening. So that's one line of thinking.
I don't know. For me, it seems like a paddle. The paddle just was dropped in the lake.
Yeah. So regarding what you just said, there's additional information. So witnesses who saw the kayak retrieved. So basically, okay, so there was search and rescue boats that are heading towards the kayak. And they found the kayak, right? And all of the witnesses reported that the kayak itself was on the right side. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't flipped over. Like, it was on the correct side, just floating in the lake. With the paddle still inside of the kayak. So that's what all of the witnesses reported, except for one person who was the driver of the boat. And the driver of the boat reported that the kayak was flipped upside down. And there were apparently no storms in the lake during the time that could explain why the kayak would be flipped over. So I guess the suspicious detail here is that maybe if we're thinking about foul play here, maybe something happens where Christina Blazek and Nancy have altercation, whatever, and maybe on purpose, Christina Blazek, and this is all alleged. We're just speculating here. We're just not saying anything concrete here. Maybe she somehow flips Nancy over, and then Nancy drowns, and maybe that's what we're kind of implying here, because one of the people in the search and rescue saw that the kayak was upside down, but then apparently everyone else on that search and rescue said that the kayak wasn't upside down. So it's very like muddy here, and it's, you know what I mean. But like, if we're going with the foul play line of thinking here, is that we're thinking that maybe somehow she maybe even used the paddle, or I don't really understand how the paddle is relevant here. I really tried to understand how the paddle is relevant in this case, but I just can't find any relevancy for the paddle, at least in my mind. And then on top of that, maybe the fact that the kayak was flipped upside down, maybe we can kind of start speculating that maybe for some reason, Christina Blazek flipped Nancy upside down and Nancy drowned, allegedly.
Yeah, this was a pretty hard thing to think about because the statements were contradicting. The witnesses' statements were contradicting. Like some said that it's on the right side up, while there were some who said it was tilted over. So which one was it?
Which one was it? That's a good question.
And then I don't know. I could also see that, let's say Nancy just wanted to go for a swim, and then instead of like I don't know, just jumping or like standing up the kayak, she would just tilt it over or tilt it a little bit to the left or to the right so she could just I don't know slide out. I mean, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
No, it makes sense. It makes sense, and that's what I'm naturally leaning towards, because that's what Christina Blazek said. But maybe if she's guilty of something, then maybe something else had happened. So I have a few questions that I would like to ask everyone in the audience, and maybe you could help us figure this out. Why Nancy and Christina Blazek leave the group initially? So I was immediately thinking, is there a chance that there are some drug usage, that they're gonna go somewhere and do some drugs on the side a little bit? And once again, from the footage, it didn't necessarily look to me that Nancy was a very adept kayaker. So for her to leave the group without a life jacket is just weird.
Maybe she knows how to swim. And if you're adept at swimming, then you're a little more confident to not wear the life jackets.
To me, the whole setup from the video looked like everyone intended to kind of stay close to the kayak center, because the kayak center has a speedboat on the shore, and it kind of indicates that, okay, if you're in trouble, that they are gonna come help you. So going out of field of view is very weird to me. Like, it's a weird decision. Like, why? And this is a question, I guess, to the podcast listeners as well. Why do we think that Christina Blazek and Nancy Ing proceed to go east on the lake? Is there any reason behind it? Is it just, oh, we're just paddling for fun, whatever, or is there, a specific reason for the two of them to paddle far away from the group? That's the first thing I don't understand about this case. Why leave the group?
My take on it, I kind of understand them. Maybe they were just adventurous. I keep on imagining myself like, I don't know, touring with a group. And sometimes you want to do something that's like outside of the group plan. And maybe that's what happened to them. They just wanted to explore a little bit, see a little bit of the sights here and there, but the majority of the group just wanted to go back to the hotel. Maybe that's why they stayed and paddled a little bit further.
Okay, fair enough. That's definitely plausible. Another question I have is, why did the group flee the country before their whole trip was even supposed to end? They were supposed to be there for a couple more days. Why did they flee the country within hours of Nancy Ing drowning? Why would you do that? So I'm thinking, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that they potentially had illegal substances in Guatemala in their system, and they were fearing for that drug test that would potentially land them in a Guatemalan prison. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that if Guatemala is going to give you, they're going to put you in prison for having smoked weed, then I'm thinking that they're trying to avoid that. Like, there's no other reason why. If you're innocent, I just don't see why. But maybe someone in the audience can chime in, or do you have any ideas? Why would they leave abruptly? This is the reason why this case is even a thing, is because they left so abruptly and they were really hush-hush about what happened.
Do you think they were just scared? They were in a foreign country and one of them was missing. And then they don't know what to do. They don't know who to contact. They don't know anyone who's from America. And maybe they were just really scared. They flew back to find, I don't know, to find someone who could help them. But the weird part about this line of thinking is that why, when they arrived in the US, back in the US, they did not contact anyone.
Yeah, so I think you answered the question yourself. I think in this situation, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's shady that they left. I don't think they were just don't know what to do and they're scared. Especially the other 8. The other 8. Like, I understand Christina Blazek's point of view. She's a attorney herself. She knows the legal system. She's trying to protect herself. Fair enough. You know what I mean? But the other 8 people, I don't think so. Out of 8 people, they all unanimously got afraid, and they all okay, maybe like if Christina Blazek is leaving the next day and Eduardo is leaving the next day, then I kind of understand how like the whole retreat is pretty much over. And I mean, what are you gonna really enjoy yourself for the next 2 days when one of the members had just drowned? I mean, you can't really have a yoga retreat anymore. So I understand that part of the reasoning why they would leave, but at the same time, the fact that it was reported that they did not provide any comment and lawyered up, that's why I would say I still think there's something shady here.
Illegal substance, right? Well, not illegal in California per se, but illegal in Guatemala.
Yeah, so marijuana.
Yep.
Okay, so that's one question. Another question is, why did it take Christina Blazek 4 weeks to provide a comment to the media? Is she hiding something? Is she truly traumatized? Or is she just trying to protect herself?
For me, it's probably a mixture of everything. She could have been traumatized. She was definitely traumatized. And she probably did not know what to do. Maybe.
Okay, so you're leaning that way. And okay, fair enough.
I just kind of want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, proven innocent until proven guilty.
Okay, yeah. I understand that point of view, and I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. I really don't know if there was any foul play involved here, so I'm just kind of speculating here. There was this one really weird report about the group potentially ransacking Nancy's room before they left, and there could be some explanations here. Obviously, the more conspiratorial explanation here, or maybe I wouldn't even call it conspiratorial because I'm actually leaning this way, so maybe let's just leave it at foul play theory, is that they try to get rid of any illegal substances that may have been in their hotel room. Maybe they ransacked Nancy's place just to make sure that there's nothing that could connect to them, which is, I think, kind of where I'm kind of going here with this case right now. Or do you think they were searching for maybe like a emergency contact number that they could contact in order to get a hold of Nancy's family members or her contact persons? So do you, first of all, I don't even know if this is true, this report that they ransacked. So maybe someone in the comments already knows more details about this particular incident. But what do you make about this one, that they ransacked her room?
Okay, for this one, I think I'm gonna side with you because there's no clear explanation. If they were just looking for an emergency contact, wouldn't have Eduardo had that already? You always need an emergency contact before signing up to something, especially a yoga retreat class.
Yeah, truly. And then also, on top of that, it's in a different country. So you're probably under some sort of legal requirements to ensure the safety of your, fellow people that are going on the trip. So maybe Eduardo, I just don't know, dude. I feel like Eduardo is to some extent legible. Sorry, not legible, but liable for this whole situation somehow, because he is the organizer. and maybe he also was kind of trying to figure something out. And then also there's this drama with Eduardo and this TikTok user that we just talked about, how they're going back and forth online, and apparently Eduardo was providing the TikTok user his flight tickets that, look, I've flown on this day, it's all good. But then apparently this TikTok guy who has a big following, someone in his, I guess, comment section provided him, like someone working for the airlines actually accessed the systems and saw when he actually left. So this goes super deep and like back and forth. So it's just a whole mess here.
It is definitely a mess.
Yeah, so the latest update in this case is that there is a sonar team that is looking for Nancy's remains, and this sonar team allegedly claims that they will definitely find Nancy's remains, and they are able to kind of locate Nancy, and maybe that will somehow solve the case. What actually happened to Nancy? Was it an accident, or was there foul play involved in Nancy Ng's disappearance case? So I guess we just have to wait and see. If there's going to be a significant update in this case anytime soon, I think we're definitely going to come back, at least to make like a short video on YouTube or something like that, or even make a podcast about it. But I think for this case, I think we have to, just wrap it up here, because I personally don't have any more information about the case. I would definitely like to hear from the audience members, to hear what they have to say about this case, and what do you guys think happened to Nancy Ng? Do you think that there was foul play involved in her disappearance, or do you think it's just as simple as Nancy Ng going for a swim and accidentally drowning? So leave your thoughts in the YouTube section, in the YouTube comment section, or like and subscribe our podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and try to kind of subscribe everywhere you can to our podcast.
Thank you, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys, and thank you for listening. Bye.